college football season around the corner. SEC Media Days continue today, headlined by the biggest of the dogs in every way. Georgia, the Bulldogs, enter as the favorites to win the conference at plus 200, looking to avenge their lone loss from last season, which came in the SEC title game to Alabama, kept them out of the college football playoff, but they bring back their star quarterback, Carson Beck, under center after throwing for nearly 4,000 yards in his first season as the starter. He finished with the second most yards in a season in program history, and of course, leading the program yet again is Kirby Smart, looking to win his third national championship in the last 4 seasons. Should he do it, he would become the 16th coach all time to win 3 national championships, and it is our pleasure to welcome Kirby Smart live to the program here. Coach, thank you for getting up with us this morning. We appreciate it. And you know, before we get into your team and everything else, I feel sort of obligated to ask you this. I had Nick Saban on yesterday in this exact spot, and I was thinking this morning, I mean, he has been omnipresent in your life. He was your boss. He was your mentor. Ultimately, he became your biggest rival. What does it feel like with him no longer on that sideline now?
It's different. I tell you, the most unique part, I think Lane and I were sharing some texts. He reached out to talk to us to prepare for this media days, and I still got nervous on the phone with him. I felt like I was still talking to my boss. I told Lane, I said, well, he's still calling us and asking about our teams, and I feel like I'm sharing inside information or something. But he's been a critical part of my career and so many coaches' careers. I'm just happy he stayed involved in college football, and he's helping carry the torch forward. He's been an incredible asset for me.
Yeah, for all of us, and we are delighted he'll be a part of it as well. And so now let's get into your program here. I was looking at your schedule this morning, and frankly, I have no idea how you sleep at night. You open with Clemson, you at Bama in September, you're at Texas in October. How do you prepare your team for what looks like a gauntlet, particularly early in the schedule?
Yeah, it's a tremendous schedule. Credit to Greg Sankey for adding the additions we made to our league. It's going to make some fabulous TV and awesome games. Our team's looking forward to it. We need to stay healthy, Mike. It's going to be a gauntlet. It always is in the SEC, but especially this year with the additions we have and the road schedule. I'm not real sure how we ended up with Ole Miss and Texas and Alabama, Kentucky all on the road. So it should be a gauntlet.
And that Clemson game is a neutral site game in Atlanta to start the season. But you mentioned there are so many changes in the sport. It is remarkable how different college football is going to be going forward from what it has been. And primarily, as you discussed, Texas and Oklahoma in the conference now, no divisions in the SEC. How does that change the way you prepare for a season?
I think maybe a lot of guys are starting to look at the preseason camp, you know, and you model a little closer to the NFL, which the NFL has a longer season. We're going to have a longer season. We have an expanded playoff, so they have a large playoff. And you start asking yourself, how do I practice in preseason camp to make sure that we stay as healthy as we possibly can? And I think that's one thing that college coaches are starting to look at, and maybe smarter on soft tissue injuries and hamstrings and things like that.
Interesting. Yours is a program that has literally lost 2 games in the last 3 seasons. So losses are generally speaking, they have been devastating in college football because of the way that the championship has been decided. Now there's this 12-team playoff. How, if at all, does that change the way you approach a season?
I think the approach becomes who can handle this adversity that hits during the season better. In the past, it was like 1 loss and your whole season's over, maybe 2 in some cases. Now, you know, that devastation can't impact your entire season. You can't let 1 loss cost you a chance at a playoff by letting the next week affect you. So it's going to be critical to see how teams manage it. I think the NFL experience I had where, you know, maybe an 8-8 season gets you in the playoff, that's not going to be the case, but you got to be able to advance and use losses to make your team better at the end of the season.
Yeah, you see here on our screen here, this is the new format, and I think a lot of fans are still, or maybe even just beginning to digest just how different everything is going to be, but it should be fascinating. Another situation here, Kirby, and you and I have talked over the years about the evolving landscape of the sport. It's another way in which it is an entirely different enterprise than it was when you got to Athens a decade ago between, you know, paying players and transfer portal. How would you describe, as someone who really sits atop the sport right now, how would you describe the way it has made your job different?
It's made it ever changing. It's like there's these seasons. The season of football is about to start, and we all love that as coaches because that's what we signed up for. The season that starts somewhere around November and December of retaining your players is critical now. You're looking at possible free agency early in the middle of a season where an NFL team wouldn't have to worry about that until a later date. So you're constantly managing things. You're communicating more. You want to be on top of it. Don't let it manage you. But it's different. And you know, the fact that our players are making really good money now, I think that's a great benefit to them. It brings on other issues and other problems when they get that money, but I'm happy for these guys and their families. They earn it. They have a great revenue stream through our university, and they represent our university when they go out on the field, so they have to do those things the right way.
One for you here, and we so appreciate your time, Coach. Paul Feinbaum was on here yesterday. He said Kirby is the new Nick Saban. I mentioned your team has lost 2 games in the past 3 years. What is it like managing a program that has a bar that is set that high?
It's a joy. I promise you, each and every day I get up, I think about how blessed I am to be the leader of this university. And the leadership doesn't come without cost, which I mentioned last year. But, I mean, I'm blessed to be here today and represent the University of Georgia. I don't know that I thought 20 years ago I would be sitting in this seat. I'm proud to be in this seat, and it's an honor. It's not a job.
Coach, I very much appreciate you doing this. Best of luck as you begin your season. I'm sure we'll talk down the road as you go through the beginning of that gauntlet. Thanks for the time today.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Give me something. Try to shake around.